Wasted World of Sports, ahoy! How's everybody doing? I'm going to try and be quiet because we've got the dual microphone set up again tonight, or today, I should say. Got the dual, so I'm going to try and control the volume of my voice so that I don't project through both microphones because we have the honour of the Old Panther joining us once more for generations. Old Panther, how are you? Probably pretty ecstatic.
Well, I feel pretty good after last night, but good afternoon, everyone, and good to be here again. I have only one reservation, Dan, about last night.
Yeah, Matt.
Was it one of those games where just everything went right?
Well, I can say from a Sharks perspective, it was definitely one of those games where nothing went right. Right from the very beginning.
Absolutely. Mind you, I don't know how you saw the game. I watched a lot of the second half. You sound like Bert and Ernie. A lot of the second half, I thought in that second half the Sharks defended their line pretty well, but Penrith kept them under the pump, didn't they?
Yeah, very much. It was one of those games where there was absolutely no let-off at all, like right from the very beginning. As soon as the Sharks started making errors. Now, in Nico Hines' defence, he was carrying an injury into the contest. Don't know what's going on out there. He was carrying an injury into the contest, so that explains his performance. But Wade Graham talks about it sometimes on the radio about how sometimes you just have those days and you get into real trouble. As the Sharks found out last night, you start to get into real trouble when everybody has one of those days all at once. And it was just a shocking first half from the Sharks, which didn't really improve much in the second, but they were a little better in the second. What made the second half very, very difficult for them to compete, apart from the relentless pressure of the Panthers, was, we've discussed it before in the past about how there's a big difference between losing your playmaker leading up to a game where you can prepare for it and losing your playmaker during a game where you've got no preparation for it, no backup for it. So, yeah, they were able to defend a lot better in the second half, but certainly not attack any better. That's what she was going nuts about. There's somebody here. So, overall, good performance from the Panthers, and I guess if you would like to, because I was supposed to do this last night, but I thought to myself, wouldn't it make a lot more sense, since we're going to be talking about it anyway, I'm sure, everyone is starting to slip into state of origin mode. Wouldn't it be much better to just do it today, before the games? That's my excuse anyway. In truth, I actually just passed out last night and didn't get around to it. So, we can do it now. Why not? But anyway, before I jump into that, just quickly around the chat room, we've got DJ Shaq there. Ahoy, DJ Shaq. We've got Burko. Ahoy, Burko. Elf on the Shelf. Ahoy there. Neutralizer. Ahoy. Ellis Williams. Ahoy. Malcolm. Ahoy there. Now, my team list is a little... Wow, I'm extremely white in that. Sorry. I don't suppose it matters. I just noticed that the camera... With the extra lighting, I've not got some extra lighting installed in the studio, and I've never done a stream this early before to notice just how bright and I'm extremely white anyway. We've had this conversation in the chat before, but this is just next level. I'm like a ghost, so I can turn that down a little bit. As I said, not that I need to. It's just one of those things. It's going to drive me crazy if I don't do something about it. Bear with me for 1 second. Neutralizer, you're done supporting the Raiders? Why?
Bad move. Drop off your team.
Yeah, they're probably going to win next week now. Neutralizer. Raiders supporter. Well, the only username from the chat rooms that I can remember was very, very distinctly Raider-based is Viking King.
Didn't catch what you said, Dan.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying the only person in the chat room who had any sort that I remember having a Raider-based username was Viking King. Viking King.
Viking King.
It's him. So Viking King, giving up on the Raiders, huh? Interesting. Very interesting, especially considering the Raiders have been doing a lot better than, than I expected. But I would say most people expected.
And they're not on bottom of the table.
No, which is where I had them. So they're not doing too bad. All right. So we were talking about before I started to go around the chat room, State of Origin. And now I've been saying for quite a few weeks now, it's too early to talk about Origin. I go down the Gus Gould line. It's too early to talk about Origin. It's going to be injuries, going to be suspensions. Nico Hines got injured last night. Nico Hines was probably the front runner for the number 7 jersey. There was no point talking about it until today. I'm more than happy to talk about it now. So one thing that I really, really struggled with, and I'll bring the team sheet up in a moment, of the direction that I would head down. And picking a predicted team, it's always a little bit of a controversial thing. I'm sure that there'll be names. People will see it and go, "Whoa, put the pipe down. What are you smoking?" I'm sure, because it will happen. It happens every single time. So that's not directed at anybody in the chat room. That's just a general thing that happens. So as soon as I post this video up, I'm sure there'll be some backlash from somewhere on it. So I do have to state a disclaimer. It is just my opinion. I'm not suggesting, because it's just an opinion. This could happen. Like I said, bold prediction, Raiders to win the Spoon, and now I'm getting lambasted for that every single week, every single round. Raiders won again, Dan. What do you think? It's not the end of the world. I was just making an opinion, a prediction. I'm not that invested in it. Anyway.
I wouldn't worry too much about it, Dan. I mean, some people even disagree with Gus.
I know, right? What's that? I disagree with him sometimes when he tips the Bulldogs to win, but he's got to tip the Bulldogs to win, doesn't he?
I disagree with him when he goes and poaches Penrith players.
Yeah, that's... Wireless mouse is dead. All right. Things are going well today. Things always seem to go well on.
I went off Penrith once, back in the 70s when they weren't winning. And this is for Neutraliser, isn't it? He's the one that's dropped off the Raiders?
Yes.
Yeah. I went off Penrith once because I got fed up with them losing. And I thought about this and I thought, well, Cronulla came into the competition the same year, 1967. So I'm going to go for Cronulla. So off I went the next weekend down to Henson Park. That was Newtown's home ground. Newtown to play Cronulla. Cronulla were favourites. I sat on the hill and watched Cronulla get walloped. And I thought, if I'm going to sit here and watch another team get walloped, I'm going back to Penrith. So it lasted 1 week in all these years. So there you go. Not a good move sometimes to drop off your team.
I dropped off the sport completely for a while there because my team was so terrible, but they've got there eventually. 2016.
Yeah, well, you don't want to watch that other thing.
What's that?
That rugby union stuff. No, geez, fair dinkum.
Interesting that you mentioned rugby union because I have a very controversial selection in my team.
Mm-hmm.
So without further ado, let's jump over. So this would be my, if we're to pick right now, this is the team that I would pick. Now, I'll read these out because I understand some people are probably watching on a mobile device, might be a little bit small. So, obviously, the way it's set up, those are the bench players down the bottom. But let's run through it. So, straight away, first name on the page. I've had him there all year. I've had him there for the past 3 years. Dylan Edwards, fullback.
Yeah.
Has to be.
I think I've been saying for the last couple of years that Tedesco's had his time. He was a great player in his prime, but I don't believe he's in his prime now. And I think Dylan Edwards, so long as they pick him and use him as fullback and don't put him on the wing, then I think that's just fine, Dan.
Yep, well, he's not going to be on the wing because the second name on the team sheet is Brian To'o, and joining him, well, not joining him, he'll be over the other side of the field, but Josh Adokar. Josh Adokar, he's returning to form. He was a bit quiet when he first went over to the Bulldogs, but he was at the end of a Bulldogs backline that wasn't firing. Now that the Bulldogs are starting to go a little bit better, so is the Fox. The Fox is actually second so far this season. Sometimes statistics like this are a little bit... you can't necessarily read too much into them, but he is second behind Dom Young at the moment in line breaks. So certainly I'm having Fox there. And let's face it, there's very little other options at the moment. Anyway, and Brian To'o picks himself. The little tank, bringing those carries back. Very important at origin level. And now here's the controversial one, because I don't hate rugby union as much as a lot of the general rugby league population. So Swalihi gets the nod in the centres for me for a couple of reasons. He wouldn't be there if the regular starting centres were available, but this is all we've got at the moment. So many players have fallen over injured, and Swalihi's also going to be there on To'o's edge of the field, because you bet your bottom dollar that they are going to pepper To'o with high balls, and I'm sure that he'll be able to hold his own, but just a little bit of protection, a big tall body there next to him, just to put some doubt in the Queensland mind about, well, let's just pepper the little fella with high balls all night, because he's going to have a big giraffe standing next to him to assist with that. So, yeah, I don't care that he's going to rugby union. He's the best available in that position at the moment. Well, you know what I mean. Stephen Crichton, the other centre, picks himself. He's got goal-kicking abilities. And the halves pairing, we've obviously switched halves pairing. Nathan Cleary, if he's fit and available, is probably the first name on the team sheet ahead of Dylan Edwards. But at the moment, Nico Hines, before the injury, probably played himself out of origin consideration anyway, in my opinion. Because once again, a big game, and Nico, God bless him, but a big game, and he's crumbled under pressure again. Was the injury contributing to that? It probably was, but all I saw in the lead up to when he actually left the field with the injury was another big game, and Nico folding again under the pressure. So Jerome Luai is the best available at the moment for 7, and Matt Burton can join him in the halves. I would have had Matt Burton as my number 6 regardless, probably. So that sort of picked itself for me. An absolute no-brainer, Isaiah Yeo. Isaiah Yeo can have the captaincy as well at the moment.
Well, they were talking on the ABC just about that, exactly. That if Tedesco isn't picked, then Isaiah Yeo will probably be the captain.
Yep. Well, it makes sense. If Nathan Cleary was fit, he's your starting halfback, he's your goal kicker, he's your general play kicker, and you probably build the team around him for the next 4 or 5 years. So you probably give him the captaincy as well. But Isaiah Yeo, he's the leader of the pack at the moment, leader of the team. Now, I want some big mongrels in the forward pack. Some classic, old-school, state of origin mongrel. Mitchell Barnett doesn't get spoken about a lot, but he is just going to tuck the ball under his arm, put him out there for that first sort of 10 to 15-minute spell, and he'll do the job. He's just a classic, old, punch-it-up-the-middle player, and I think he'll do the job. Holy moly, Olakuatu. Just another big body. I just want big, classic, mongrel bashes in the forward pack. See, Payne Haas, he's a big unit, but I think Payne's a little bit too nice. Payne Haas, he's in the team because he's a damn good player, but I just don't think he's got the mongrel for State of Origin. Now, I've picked him, and this is honestly last chance saloon for Payne and the Haas. If I'm Michael Maguire, I'm sitting him down and I'm saying, mate, this is your forward pack, right? We're putting our faith in you. This is... Because I don't know if anyone... I'm not privy to... Believe it or not, I'm not privy to New South Wales team meetings. So I don't know if anyone's ever sat him down before and said, this is your forward pack. You lead this forward pack. You're the main man. And it's amazing the difference that can make to a player. It can also, of course, put them under undue stress and pressure, and they respond negatively. But I think Payne just needs a little rocket up the Chamindavas, and he could really have a standout year. But this is it. This is it for him. I say, if he doesn't lift and take his club form to that next level, then I'm afraid I'm putting a red line through him for a long while, at least, before he gets another crack at Origin. But I sit him down and I say, look, this is your forward pack, lead from the front. Jake Trbojevic, he's not always necessarily in the best form, but he is the most immaculate tackler in the game, and that's what you want at State of Origin. He can get involved in that. He's going to get through work rate. Jake Trbojevic has never let down New South Wales, and he probably never will. He will go out there and tackle his guts out. And Api Coruscant picks himself for the hooker. Simple. Now, on the bench was a little bit more difficult because Matt Burton, if everybody is fit and firing, Matt Burton makes the perfect utility on the interchange bench. So, I've very begrudgingly put Zach Lomax there. Zach Lomax can play fullback, centre, wing, so he covers that back line. He can also kick goals at a pinch if you need to. And there's just nobody else at the moment. I mean, you're not putting Nico Hines there. If Nico Hines is the starting halfback or he's not in the team, there's no place for him, in my opinion. So, yeah, look, Zach Lomax, I just feel like... if I'm going to pick apart my own team and where it falls apart a little bit is I just feel like Lomax is just being carried and it's a waste of a bench spot. But as of right now, I can't. You need some coverage for the back line. I'm looking through that team as well and going, all right, what happens if Stephen Crichton busts a leg inside the first 10 minutes, for example? So you do have to have... It does feel like you're just carrying him, but then if somebody does get injured, it kind of, you kind of go, oh, well, I'm glad he was there. Cameron McInnes, I would actually pull a little bit of a left field selection here. Now, I don't know that this would necessarily ever happen, but I don't think it's necessarily the worst idea in the world. Now, Cameron McInnes, he's a lock. He can play... He can cover second row in a pinch if he needs to, but he's also played 113 games in his career starting hooker. So he can cover Api as well. If Api needs a rest at some point, you can bring Cam McInnes on, and then when Api's had his rest, Api comes back on. McInnes just shifts when one of your other big boppers gets taken off the field as part of the natural interchange. So that's the value that he brings. But you could also play it another way, and I've clearly thought way too much about this. We're starting to get deep now, deep diving. What if you started Cameron McInnes at hooker, take the sting out of the game, because we know what Origin's like for that first 10 or 15-minute period where they just get your big bodies out there. He's serviceable at hooker. He can take the brunt of that early contact, and then you bring Api on when those big boys are starting to get a little bit tired. Cameron McInnes is an 80-minute player. He's never going to stop. So you just shift him out, as I discussed as part of the interchange anyway. Shift him out, and Api comes on and raises hell. Not the worst idea in the world, I don't think. On the bench also, Sir Angus Crichton, Spencer Leniu, again, just a big classic mongrel, and he'll get under Queensland's skin, one banana peel at a time. Ollie is the best. Probably shouldn't have said that. Ollie is the best. Ahoy there. And, as I said, Zach Lomax, honestly, I just can't think who else. But we do need some coverage for the backs. But I do feel like it's just wasting a bench spot. I tossed up Reece Robson as well, but then you've got Cameron McInnes there who can cover hooker at a pinch. So, Vobsy, ahoy, mate. Not enough Panthers / Bulldogs players. I've got 3 there. I think that's plenty for the Bulldogs. You wouldn't go picking anyone else. Whoops.
There's one key word that you used in all of that description, Dan. Mm-hmm. But there is also, hopefully, Michael Maguire will do things differently this year, because my first thought when you said, or when you asked, what if Crichton goes down? My first thought was, based on the last couple of years, we'd just move Appy out into the centres and let the forwards look after themselves, wouldn't we? Mm. So hopefully Michael Maguire's got a different outlook on things. Going back to around about 2001, Royce Simmons was the coach of Penrith in 2001, and he had this big fella named Tony Puletua in the forwards. And I remember reading an article about it, and Royce pulled him aside and said, "You're a nice bloke, but you got to have a bit more mongrel in you." And then, of course, in 2003, won the premiership.
Yep.
I think that's critical for State of Origin. You've got to be a mongrel to be there, haven't you?
And that's very reminiscent of what I just said about Payne Haas. He seems like too nice a bloke.
Yes.
Get out there and bash guys. Gordon Tallis it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Sorry, got a bit thirsty. Yeah, so that's the direction I would go in. Obviously, that's not the team that it would be if everybody was fit and available. But that's what it is. What it is for now. I think that's probably the best available. I do have a sneaky suspicion, though, the direction that it will actually head. I think that Nathan Cleary being injured probably lends itself to the fact that Tedesco will get the nod. See, I'm not a fan of incumbency. I think you can only justify incumbency if you win.
Yeah.
Why would you have an incumbent rule for a bunch of losers? That's my thought. Like Tedesco should get picked on form, not because of, he was the captain last year, so because Nathan Cleary's injured, he should be the default captain this year. No, not if he's not the best fullback. He shouldn't be, but that's just my 2 cents. And Cody Walker as well. Cody Walker is being discussed still for 5/8 because he's the incumbent. I'm like, he played 1 game last year.
Yeah.
Yes, they won that game, but that doesn't make him the incumbent. Whoops. But anyway, I don't want Vobsy to get upset. I'm talking about his Roosters.
Vobsy's already put in a good case for Teddy.
What's that? Oh, his glorious buttocks.
Yeah, there you go. That makes for good TV and good calling, I might add.
Yep.
Yeah.
DJ Shack says, and Dan, let's be honest, that theoretical list is going to be far from the real one for both Queensland and New South Wales, of course. But absolutely. And I'll have a think about the Queensland team. It's hard to pick a Queensland team though when you just don't care. So, but I'll have a think about the Queensland team after the games tonight because we'll have to see. There might be a few more injuries, which really shakes things up for the Queenslanders.
Well, they'll be relying on a couple of Titans, won't they?
Queensland.
Yeah. Isn't it Brimson plays for the Titans?
Oh, yeah, Brimson won't be in the squad though.
I reckon.
No. No, well, Reece Walsh will be the starting fullback.
Yeah. I just think some blokes are just Origin players, aren't they? And you've only got to look at him and you get annoyed. And I think he would be good. Hey.
Who, Reece Walsh?
Well, either one of them. Me and Brimson as well. AJ, he's when he's on form, he's good.
As a New South Wales supporter, I like the inclusion of Reece Walsh because there's going to be a few errors.
That helps.
New South Wales just have to be able to capitalise on it, though. Of course. DJ Shack says, "I'll do it for you, Dan, if you're not interested." I would need some help. I would definitely need some help with the Queensland players. Well, there you go. Brimson's out anyway.
Yep. Okay, that fixed that.
Yeah. Yeah, because Gus actually said a funny thing on 100% Footy, because they keep trying to bait him into picking his Origin squads. They've been doing it now for about a month, and he's just like, "I'm not doing it. There's no point. There's no point." Because on the Six Tackles with Gus podcast, Matt Thompson kept asking him, "What do you think, Ponga or Walsh for Queensland fullback?" He's like, "I don't care. I'm not talking about it.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about it. There's weeks to go. And he actually made reference to it. He's like, I'm not talking about it. That's stupid Matt Thompson on my podcast. I was telling him for weeks, it's too early to talk about Origin. And he was asking me about who are Queensland going to pick, Brimson, Ponga, or Reece Walsh. And Ponga goes out and gets injured that weekend. He just wasted 30 minutes of my life having this discussion. It's now pointless. So yeah, I've as we know in the chat room, I've very much been in that camp myself. People have been asking me questions. Well, you now have your answers. I have finally revealed my team because it's safe to talk about now. Not that far away,
Mm-hmm.
Origin, week and a half.
Yep.
Can you believe that?
Well, it's only 7 months till Christmas.
It's too early to talk about Christmas.
Yeah, there might be some injuries.
Yep. Severe injuries to my bank account. So what you were saying is you want to be like the second coming of Gus. I like it. No, I'm just saying I agree with him. I do not have the nous around the game as Gus Gould does, but very few people do. Fairness. Yeah, so there we go. Walsh will definitely be the starting halfback. Holmes on the wing. Cobbo in the centres. See, I think Cobbo's wasted in the centres, personally. Even for the Broncos. Ellis? Christian Welsh should get munched because of his old age. He'd still be in consideration, I'm sure. Jaden Sewer's a good one. I would have Jaden Sewer for sure. Lindsay Collins, definitely. Harry Grant picks himself. Here's an interesting one. Munster's not going to be fit for game 1, so... Actually, Munster, I think, is out for the entire Origin series. So who gets the nod at 6 for Queensland? Will it be Ezra Mam or will it be Tom Dearden? I say Tom Dearden. Fear the Deer. He had T-shirts. There were Tom Dearden T-shirts. Fear the Deer.
He's done well since he moved away from the Broncos, hasn't he? Dearden. Yeah. That's a good point. Ezra Mam, he'll be there eventually, I would think, if he keeps up the form he's in.
Yeah, Tom Dearden, I think he'll he'll get the job done. Unfortunately, I'm still suggesting Queensland win in a clean sweep. New South Wales have had their chance when Queensland were very, very clearly rebuilding, and yeah, Freddie just.
Well, these blokes, they put that maroon jumper on, and something happens. They just crack up, don't they? I mean, they're good. You get to a point, like, as much as I hate them, and like I hate everything about Queensland when it comes to the footy, except for the Titans, and yeah, when they get out there in that maroon jumper, there's something inhuman about them. It's something just kicks into gear with them, doesn't it? And you just have to respect that. They're just when it comes to that state of origin level, they're just that far ahead of New South Wales. It's amazing.
Pre-match lines in the locker room, I'd say.
But hopefully it won't happen this year. We need a win. We need a win to keep the interest.
I think it will. Well, the problem is, and I'm sure that we've discussed it before, and it's not necessarily a problem, but wasn't the whole concept of Origin hasn't it been about Queensland? I mean, Gus talks about it all the time. He's like, Origin's about Queensland. Origin is all about Queensland.
Basically, that's how it started. Yeah.
And so it would make sense that it's just ingrained into the system that New South Wales just wouldn't have that. It's everybody against us mentality that I understand sparked Origin in the first place. The outcasts, the little brothers being left out. Let us in, let us in, let us in. So they get let in and have a point to prove. And even though there's what 4 Queensland teams in the comp now.
Yep.
Then
5 if you include Storm.
Yeah. Then they shouldn't realistically have that mentality anymore because they're already in. But it's just ingrained into the system. Anyway, I mean, that's my 2 cents. No, New South Wales missed their opportunity there. The golden goose was there, and Freddie decided to experiment just a tad too much.
You may well be right.
I often am.
Maybe Madge can work some magic.
Well,
magic.
Yeah. He
did with Souths.
Yeah, he's done some magical things. New Zealand as well.
Yes.
New Zealand pulled off that miracle.
Mm-hmm.
So you never know. DJ Shack says putting on a Queensland jumper is like putting on an All Blacks jersey. You step into it and suddenly you've got the weight of the world on your shoulders. But once you lift it, you fly higher than the moon.
Is she referring to Tedesco there? Moon?
Full moon?
Moon? Maybe.
Pretty confident Madge will do better than Freddie. So, well, the problem... See, this is the depressing thing I think about Freddie's record. Because his record, when you look at it overall, it wasn't terrible. But there's a huge asterisk that goes against that in what I was just saying. Queensland were rebuilding. I mean, they should have gone on a run of about maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit. I have a tendency to do that, but I'm just thinking off the top of my head and memory of the situation. He should have easily, with the teams that were available, won at least 4 in a row during that period. Queensland have rebuilt now, well and truly. Even with the injuries aside, Queensland have rebuilt to a stage where I went in at the start of this year and predicted 3-0. Just looking at the potential teams on paper, they've rebuilt. The chance is gone. So, New South Wales are the Wallabies to our All Blacks. I don't think New South Wales are going quite that bad yet. But it will be interesting to see what happens, because there's talk about Michael Maguire taking over the Parramatta job.
Well, isn't he contracted with to do the New South Wales job? Not that contracts mean much these days.
No, that's right.
But yeah, apparently the word is that he would really like to get back into an NRL coaching position, head coaching position.
Yep.
And that would definitely be a lure for him, wouldn't it?
Yep. And look, he is not. This is just media reports. I don't believe that Michael Maguire has actually said the words himself. But in stark contrast, I mean, he's not come out, I don't believe, and said anything either way. I don't think he's come out and said, no, not interested. But you know who has come out and said, no, not interested? And this is, again, just back to the difference of Queensland and New South Wales mentality. And Billy Slater knocked any thoughts of the rumour mill on the head immediately. Like, no, I coach Queensland, so I'm not available for the position. I'm not interested in the position. I'm the coach of Queensland. And for as long as I'm the coach of Queensland, that's all I'm interested in being, or something along those lines. That wasn't his word-for-word response, but he came out and shut it down. I'm the coach of Queensland. I've already got a job. Thanks, but no thanks. And Michael Maguire, I think, it probably would have sent a good message. So you can't do it now. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Billy Slater said, if I'm not coaching Queensland, I'm not coaching at all. Now, that's commitment to the gig.
Mm. And you're saying that's the difference in attitude.
That's the difference
between the two states
towards Origin.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm not coaching Queensland, I'm not coaching at all. Which we know is not true, because if he's sacked as the coach of Queensland for whatever reason, he'll be looking for another job. But it sends a message. It sends a very clear and direct message. This is my gig. This is all I'm focused on. And you can't do it now. Maguire can't come out and say it now. Otherwise, it just looks like a retort to what Billy did. So he's better off now being quiet. But I just think if he's got a PR person, I think they might have missed a trick there to really start this new era off on the right foot, on the front foot. Get ahead of the rumour mill. Or at the very least, bash it as soon as it comes out. So yeah, I don't know if he's got a PR person.
I think that what Slater has said is right. What you've said about it is correct. That that was a PR thing because 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was listening to another interview and they were talking about Slater, and he has already expressed a desire to coach at NRL level. Cameron Smith has backed him to be a good coach. And so, yeah, right now isn't the time to say, yes, I want to coach NRL. He's got a job to do, hasn't he, before he thinks of that?
Yeah, that's right. Speaking of Cameron Smith, have you ever listened to the SEN network? I think it's on, and Bossy, Brandy, and Cameron Smith do a show together. Can you believe that? Like a radio style show. Well, I think it's legit radio. They just record it for YouTube in a podcast style, similar to what we do here. And I just think what an odd mix of talking heads. But Brandy ribs Cameron Smith all the time. All the time. He's getting stuck into him when they're talking about referees and stuff, and Brandy's always saying stuff like, I'm interested to know, Cameron, in your experiences as a referee, what you thought of that decision on the weekend. And then Vossi will crack up about it, and Cameron Smith takes it like a champ. He knows.
Well, that was his job, wasn't it? Yeah. To influence the referee.
Well, and he's said as much as that in podcasts prior. That's what it's part of it. It's part of being a captain. It's part of being a hooker. Anyone know when Hines will be back? No, I don't think that they've reached that level of diagnosis just yet, Vobsy.
Hasn't had scans yet, apparently.
Yeah. So we won't know for a few days, probably a couple of days. Ellis Williams reckons Michael Checker is coaching Para. Now that's an interesting one because I actually said we were talking about it last year because the discussion was quite obviously that Freddie Fittler's time is up. And I said a smoky for the New South Wales job. Because at State of Origin level, you don't necessarily need to coach. The traditional coach. These are already the most skillful players in their state. These guys know what they're doing already. So you don't just straight out coach skills or any that sort of thing. It's more a man management position. And that's where Michael Checker was always very good. Michael Checker was able to take the Wallabies way beyond where anyone expected them to go in World Cups when he first took over. And he was able to do it by just man management. The traditional way of the Ricky Stewart method of look, everyone thinks we suck. Let's go out there and prove them wrong. It's us against them. So I actually said last year a smoky for the New South Wales job, as long as he had people around him, rugby league brains that could do all the necessary rugby league stuff, like come up with tactics and things like that. And keep him away from the media as well. He was a very, very shocking media presence. So somebody to do all that sort of stuff for him, I think he would have actually done all right. I mean, he's done well with everything else that he's done. Coached Argentina. I think it was him who was coaching Argentina's first win over the Wallabies.
Well, once again, Dan, you've come up with the key word, management, man management, because I remember when Mal Meninga took over coaching Queensland, during an interview he said he didn't consider himself a coach, he was a manager. And like you said, he gathered people around him who were good at their job, and that made his job easier and made him look good. And the results over the years prove that he was right. I think even the Queensland media laughed when they made the first selections for the Queensland team. And he said, because he brought in a lot of new faces, and he said to them, when Wayne Bennett did it, you called him a genius. Let's wait and see what happens. And I think he proved his point. Management at that level, that's what a lot of it is, management.
Yep.
I remember being privy to a team that was in front at half time, and during the half time break, the coach just laid right into them. You would have thought they were behind.
Wasn't Tommy, was it?
No, not Tommy. And of course, they ended up losing the game because there seemed to be just no pleasing him. And man management at that level, once you get into those adult grades, man management, very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he would have done the job, but now there's talk about him taking over Parramatta as a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wasn't that? It's probably a conversation for another time, but because we're running out of time here, we're almost due for kickoff. 7 minutes away from kickoff in the Broncos Titans. But the timing around Brad Arthur doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah,
why not let him just see the year out?
It was amazing though. You've got to say. It's just amazing. He had two of his spine members out.
Well, I actually thought, and I mentioned it on streams before, but I actually thought that was potentially the thing that would save him for another year.
Yeah.
The day before his birthday, too, it was apparently, yeah. I did hear something about that. Would have waited till after it. Yeah. Yeah, it was weird, but I thought for sure that would have extended him for at least another year. Wait and see what happens when they come back, and he's got a full squad available to him at least. But anyway,
yeah, I think I did I mention this to you that Parramatta, they do have that record, don't they? Like a couple of years ago, Arthur took them to the grand final against a pretty hot side and didn't win it. But then going back a few years, Daniel Anderson took Parramatta to the grand final against the Storm, I think it was. Yeah.
Right.
And shortly after that, they sacked him. So it seems like it's a bad move to go to the grand final with them and
or at least not win it.
Not win it, yeah.
Yeah, you must have to win it. All right, Old Panther.
Yep.
Thank you very much for
Thank you.
joining us.
Hope we gave some food for thought there.
Yeah, I'd be interested. Well, I'll definitely be making a separate video of the clips of the show today. So it'll be interesting to see kind of feedback on my predicted Blues team there, and more to the point, how it matches up with what actually gets announced.
I'm going to put the message up on the NRL website for you.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just... All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Enjoy the game.